Good evening, viewers. My name is Pretzle, and today we're playing Sid Meier's Crash Fest Beyond the Sword. Or something to that effect. Continuing from where we last left off, almost, I had recovered to the end of the last turn or between the sessions, with that crash at the end, making the same moves in the same order. I'm pretty sure we're at the end of this turn with nothing else to do, so let's just end the turn here and start anew. We should be taking Sarmatians soon enough, and I, for some reason, have built a workshop here rather than farms. My bad. Workshop belongs there, though, and this worker wants to go up here and build a road? No, this worker wants to build a road here. You want to go this way, and look around here. You want to build a road on the rice, I think. You want to go down there and chop that forest eventually. You all want to skip a turn. You want to build a road on that workshop, I think. Yeah, that'll be fine. So you're building a road. One of you is building a road, the other one skip a turn. That guy can go up there or something next turn. And everything else looks fine. Alright, I wanted to check overflow on this. I think I thought I had 28. Apparently I only had 27. Hammers of overflow from the last build in Philadelphia on Oxford University. What I'm thinking is that you're working the wrong tiles, for one thing. Get as much production out as you can. What I'm thinking is that I might have to gradually whip into this. So I let it build for a turn, and then partially build the observatory and the grocer for upcoming turns, and then whip after that. Or whip into them and get the overflow into Oxford University, and grow it that way. Philadelphia does have enough food, and it's not like I need to switch it to Emancipation that quickly. Although I need to keep that option open to me, which is why I'm researching democracy. That being said, I do have a lot of spare happiness in all these cities. I mean, look at that. Everything is obscenely green. And Washington, I think, yeah, 11 out of 20 at 10 population for both health and happiness. So I can get to 19 population with no consequences. That is nice, to say the least. So yeah, there's that. I'm almost thinking that'll do for this turn. Did anything grow last turn? And I haven't checked the foreign advisor yet. Los Angeles has grown. Your tiles are fine, I think. Yep. Houston has grown. I'd rather you work that, I think, get the observatory done faster. Where else was it? Portland and St. Louis. Portland is working as hard as it can. Maybe that? No, Portland really wants to grow, so let's work that. And the other one was St. Louis. I said St. Louis. Thank you. Okay. St. Louis, again, doing the best it can. Until it grows a bit more, there's not much point doing much else. Torn about keeping that. That doesn't really belong. That might get workshopped over at some point to provide some extra production. In a world that will need production. So let's check the foreign advisor. No trades. I can't trade anything. Am I on tech parity with Ragnar? Yes. Do I know what Ragnar's researching? No. How close am I? Far away. Okay, that's nice. I might want to adjust that soon enough at some point. Let's check whips. Atlanta can whip its grocer for 2 population. That I think is what I want to do. Yeah, you're working that shitty farm, so yeah, you need whipping. apparently it wants to continue working that shitty farm. How about no? How about you don't do that? We'll still grow in 2 turns. Chicago, with its bank, can be whipped. 9 overflow. You grow next turn, so I guess you may as well whip now, right? Yeah, whip now. That's fine. And actually, you run a merchant instead of working that tile. I think that'll work better. Actually, will it? What was that? That was Chicago, right? Yeah, so I'm getting 40 wealth out of this, and I'm getting 38.75 out of that. So yeah, it's better to run the specialist. Especially since that gives me +3 beakers. That is something I need to consider, actually. I'm in representation. Running specialists is often going to be better than working tiles. The only distinction being the food. Also, a lot of these engineers I might want to replace with merchants. Such as in Seattle. And yeah, Seattle has enough production to last on its own. It's lacking commerce. San Francisco is good on commerce, but isn't massive on production at the moment. When I get around to having levies, this will be very nice. I might need to seal those tiles away from whatever that city was, and I need to go back. There it is, Chicago. Yeah, these cottages will probably need to go to San Francisco, and therefore will want to be working specialists instead. The rice maybe as well, but we'll see. So that's fine. Los Angeles needs to get its bank up first. Observatory, not a massive concern. You are pretty good for your production. Although that being said, I feel happier getting the observatory out sooner. The harbour I don't care as much about, but the observatory I do want fairly quick. Portland needs its market. St. Louis also needs its market, as does pretty much everything else after this in the queue, I think. Yeah. So, starting at the top, Washington and New York are correct. Boston is at its heart a production city, so yes, it wants the engineer. Philadelphia is at its heart a commerce city, but it needs to build Oxford University, so it can run the engineer until then. And do I want that or that? I think I want it running the merchant rather than the scientist. Then I have more wealth modifiers than research modifiers, right? That gets me... yeah, that gets me 6 because research is doubled. That gets me 5.25, effectively 6. Because of rounding. So yeah, it's the same actually. But I am... yeah, beakers are worth more at the moment. So let's run the scientist. I'll be getting my two things, great people, from New York and then from Washington anyway, to found my corporations. And with that said, let's look at my tech path. I'm going to want to... democracy, chemistry, scientific method, absolutely. Then I want steel for the ironworks. No. Chemistry, sci-meth. Then biology to get the farms, then steel for the ironworks. Then steam power so I can build levees in San Francisco, and I think I only need one more. Yeah, none of these other cities have rivers other than... are riverside, rather, other than Los Angeles. And the city does need to be riverside. It can't just have the rivers in its boundaries. So, steam power, then railroad, so I can get the buffs on mines, You're kidding me. I've barely started. Game crashed, guys. For fuck's sake. What did I say? Let's try that again, please. Okay, you want to be a farm. You want to workshop that. You want to road that. You want to road that. You want to go to that tile, I think. You want to road that. You want to chop that. You want to skip turn. And everything else is fine. Nothing in the foreign advisor. Stuff in the domestic advisor. Atlanta did want whipping, and then wanted to run the hill. Chicago wants whipping in a couple turns. Seattle wants whipping now. Always whip Seattle. Yes. And it doesn't want to be running the spy, thank you very much. It can run a merchant. There we are. San Francisco. Right, where did we decide to put hammer specialists? Merchants rather than engineers. San Francisco requires its bank, buttery biscuit bank. Houston really wants the observatory, so pretty much nowhere, I don't think. Which is fine. I can handle that. I would rather have the production than the commerce, to be fair. Right, you want to adjust your specialists to accelerate build time. And everything else is fine, right? Now, here's where we were. Tech. Right. So, let's re-establish that. Chemistry, scientific method. That allows me to see how many turns, although that's not a massive detail, really. Then, biology. Biology for the +1 food on farms. And the ability to build farms without irrigation. Irrigation still does provide +1 food, though, so yeah. Steel for the ironworks, a massive boost to production, but requires access to coal, so steam power next. And workers build improvements 50% faster, that's always handy. Obviously, Hagia Sophia, which does exactly that. And the ability to build levees in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Nowhere else can build them, I don't think. Because nowhere else is riverside. Then railroad to get the +1 hammers on mines. Then medicine to get access to Sitsushi. And then, assuming I have both great people at that point, corporation, then assembly line, because we desperately need assembly line at that point. In fact... because I really want to get as much benefit out of the Great Lighthouse as possible. But, hell, I might be able to trade for corporation at some point. You never know who's going to research that will want to trade with me. After assembly line, we will see. I will probably want to go down the nuclear weapons line. I don't know. Pakal does need taking out. His culture threat is huge, and his land is very nice. So, looking around, I think that's it for this turn, at last. Civics, I've already changed. And everything else is fine. Right, moving on. Finally. And please can this not crash? Because for crying out... What? Wait, where's that? Fuck you. Fuck you, Pakal. Just fuck you. Fission line it is. I require nuclear weapons. And I can probably take him out without that. Given that I might want to rejig how my cities are going up here. And also, yeah, uh, yeah, that's fine. Okay, you go there. Just in case I need to move you there. This guy can spawn bust himself. And actually, you go there as well. Continue along that road, just in case. That's where I wanna. That's where I want these guys to end up. Yeah, you go there as well. I'm sure I'll be able to take these guys out on its own, but just in case I can't, you go up there. You'll be safe. Longbows can only move once. They're likely to stay in the city, but just in case they decide they want to apply pressure, actually, you can move down one as well. These axes are both fine. This worker wants to work that hill, I think. You go up there and round to see the Viking city. Interesting. Actually, no. Assuming that's settled there, it's probably the best place for it. Good job, game. Fuck you, game. With that said, cities. Can anything be whipped? Only Chicago and Buffalo. Does Buffalo want whipping? Library. Ooh, that's an idea. Yes, let's whip that. And whip it now, because that's your only form of production. And you'll grow quickly enough. And after that, build a theatre. And, and get as much cultural output on that as we can. And then, City of Armon's getting thrashed. Augustus Caesar... Ragnar's basically my ally. Augustus Caesar's not concerned. Stalin is nearby and therefore a mild threat, but Bakal, obviously, since he's on my landmass, is the biggest of the threats. I don't care about any espionage on Surrey of Armon or Augustus Caesar at all, given that. But I need more espionage on Pakal. I need at least parity, I think. Okay, so I need more espionage to do that mission. Let's try and get a lead on him then. Okay, that'll do. If I can so, what I'm planning on doing is getting... What's the name of that city? Is Ankanek to culturally switch to me. Meaning I can't settle that and can't settle that. And that means I may as well just keep Sarmatian as is. And that city may as well go... there. Yeah, that's the best. Yeah, by spreading culture from Buffalo, and I suppose Sarmatian as well, although that wouldn't be as big of a contributor. By spreading culture from Buffalo towards Ankanek, which, okay, might be a little tough. If I can do that, then what I will accomplish is getting Ankanek to culturally switch to me. If I can get more culture, and you see here, this tile is 98% American culture, 1% Mayan culture. As I keep cultural pressure on by having Buffalo just have culture happen, which is why I'm building the library and the theatre, and maybe the Hindu temple as well, we'll see. And hell, maybe a university as well. University for culture. If I can get Buffalo's borders to expand, it needs to be twice, then I will have culture on that tile. The city tile is Ankanak itself. Meaning that tile will be partially mine. If I can get that to exceed 50%, then that city will start bitching at Pakal to become an American city. He can suppress that by just stuffing more troops in there, and by increasing his own cultural output, but that's why I need to beat him, basically. So, there's that. Espionage actually helps. If I can go send a spy into that city and use the spread culture mission, which I will need to look up. I'll need to look up the mechanics of that off screen because I don't recall them perfectly. If I can do that, then that makes it more likely that, well, yeah, that just increases my culture on that tile, basically, which increases the likelihood that it'll switch to me. That is an aggressive act, absolutely, and the alternative is declaring war, which I want to avoid for now, but knowing that he settled that city, I want to remove him from the map. Now, declaring war on him will probably result in declaring war declarations from Surya Barman and possibly Stalin, depending on how friendly they are at the time, and whether or not Surya Barman's been crushed yet. Now, Ragnar, unfortunately for me, for long-term prospects, has completely sprawled, built a lot of cities, which isn't surprising, given it's a map, Archipelago. The Vikings, as you could probably imagine, are a very strong coastal, naval people. Right, so moving on. Pakal has money, but I don't have any techs to sell him, and probably never will. All my cities are looking fine. Chicago, I still want to wait a turn or two before I whip it. Yeah, let's wait until it's a turn off growth, and that'll be best. Nothing to trade. Tech is fine. Civics as established. And everything else is good to go, I think, unless anyone's working shitty tiles. Has anyone grown this turn? New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, and Buffalo. New York is working fine. Yeah, you can continue working those coast tiles, that's fine. Philadelphia. Yeah, you can work that, I just wanted you to work the specialist first. What were the other ones? Buffalo and Chicago. So Chicago, there's not much better you can be working, really, other than science. But I need you to grow, so... And the other one was Buffalo, which I believe I whipped. Yeah, Buffalo I whipped. And intend to keep whipping. For now. With that said, I might want to spread Judaism there. So, how much does a missionary cost? That is a 2-pop whip in Portland, which I don't want to do, because I don't want to whip Portland. Does anywhere else have Judaism? San Francisco. I didn't build a monastery here, so I can't build a missionary. Okay. Portland I will continue to be able to build missionaries as time goes on. But I want that now, sooner rather than later. If I whip now, 26 hammers overflow straight into the market, which is very nice. If I whip now, then I should grow next turn. Yep. And that's going straight to Buffalo. And Buffalo can then... It is then warranted to build a Jewish temple there. I am going all out on culturally converting that. If he has specialists in that city, I believe he has the Sistine Chapel, so they will produce culture for him, as will religious buildings, they'll produce extra culture. Hell, actually, I'm not horribly far away from scientific method. It might be worthwhile building a Jewish monastery here as well. Monasteries are cheaper than temples after all. I would get the hammer bonus for a short while, but longer term I would still have the +2 culture, which is very nice. And is absolutely what Buffalo needs. So, I think that's the end of this turn. That should do. Yep, end turn. Okay, that's unfortunate, but I need to end turn there. Surrey of Armin is no longer the worst enemy of Ragnar. Are they no longer at war? Ragnar. At war with Stalin, not at war with Surya-Varman, but is the worst enemy of Surya-Varman. Okay, interesting. How about espionage? How's that looking? Bakal has taken espionage pressure off me entirely. Okay. Well, let's turn that down a little bit then, and put a bit more on, say, Stalin and Mao. I want to get 20 per turn, I think, on Bakal. And let's plug a couple more there. Boom, boom. Yes, that'll do. Right, this worker. Bakal adopts emancipation. Oh, that's why he's getting no espionage. He's in anarchy. What's he doing switching to emancipation? Fuck's sake. See, now my cities are going to get unhappy. Not yet, obviously. And I'd imagine it's a distance modifier and population modifier. So, the more population I have, the more angry citizens I will have. Because they want to be in emancipation. So, I need to get democracy sooner rather than later. And that is what I planned for by switching to democracy. So that's +1 culture per turn by having Judaism there. Now, I believe... Now, I want the theatre first, but then I want the things to be built in that order. We'll see if I am on track to get the monastery before or after Thingy-Bobby wants it. Scientific method. So, give all those trebuchets city attack, because that's the best promotion for them to have. Knights, I believe... Do I want to give them combat or flanking? Let's compare. Combat is more useful... Is it? No. Flanking is more useful at the moment. With 27.2 plus 7.3, leaving 34.5% survival odds. Whereas 32.6% survival odds on the knight with combat. Unpromoted gets 27.2, which is not surprising at all. So select all the trebuchets and attack. First one dies. What were its combat odds, just out of curiosity? 30.2. Okay. Next one survived at 48.8, and the other one gets 54.1 and dies. Okay, that's acceptable. That still does a lot of damage to these longbows. Notice they were all at 6 out of 6 health strength before. Now, top one is at 3.6 out of 6. So it's nearly half of the way down. The other ones are 1.5 out of 6 and 1.8 out of 6. So, quarter and a third, respectively. So let's see what my combat odds with flanking are. 94.4% odds of survival. And combat, 95.3% odds of winning. So, let's do that. Then next one, 99.8% odds of survival. Versus, with combat, greater than 99.9. So, should have just done combat on all of them, really. Combat is... nothing, but I need to keep the city, so... Shame I can't follow old city format. I'd rather have granary first. Yeah, there's wheat right there, so it's going to be better, straight off. Yeah, I would have preferred the old city format, but with that city there that I'm just going to try and culturally flip, there's no real point. I'm building a settler in Washington that'll go up here, and that'll be the last city settled. Between sessions, I did actually check how many American Empire names there are for cities. Whereas most civilizations only have 20 or so, so I was slightly worried I would exceed that by building too many cities. And it would start picking from, I think at that point, the pool of barbarian city names. The American Empire has like 60 city names, so I would not have come close to running out. So this knight may as well do spawn busting. You can take the role of that chariot, who will take the role of that chariot, who will take the role of garrisoning New Orleans. This worker... How about you build the lighthouse, please? This worker wants to go here and build a... workshop. Torn between workshop and farm, but that city's going to be that'll just be a terrible farm. Build a mine here. Yeah. So this worker Well, I may as well have multiple people going up to improve Sarmation now, right? Yeah. So you also go up there and build a road. You can defend your own city. Axe can act as garrison. Chariot can act as garrison. Axe can act as garrison. You can barb spawn your own tundra. I might settle that city. I'm not gonna put too much pressure on it unless I can really get that done quickly. Right, 8 turns until cultural border pop. Ideally, I get that done before this thing expands to size 2, which, based on the fact it has a 2 food tile as its highest tile to work, is probably going to happen based on it being 234 settle date. Probably going to happen turn 244. Yeah, because it's going to have a 2 food surplus and needs 10 turns to do that. With no culture, it's not going to expand onto the cow. So, that's not going to happen unless I... except in the case of magic, basically. That's the only way I could get that to happen sooner. With that said, let's chop this forest. That forest isn't going to be used for anything else. Plus 16 hammers in Buffalo, that's no harm done there. It's not going to be a bad thing. You go up there to spawn bust, and in fact, go one more up to reduce the barbarian galley prevalence. Baltimore. You don't have much choice in the matter, do you? You need to work that hill tile. That is a shame. I shouldn't have bothered building a road there. Voice crack. Apparently I'm in puberty still. Let's do beakers, do a mine, and check everything else. Right, whips. Chicago can still whip its bank. That wants to be done next turn or the turn after. We will make that decision then. Washington, 3-pop whip on the grocer. Don't really want to do that. I want Washington to grow now. That's going to be more useful. So probably around about there. So in a few turns, I will want to whip that for 2 population. Probably when Washington is 1 turn away from growth to size 12. New York. Yeah, New York doesn't want to build a settler. I only need to build 1 more settler, which Washington has queued up after its grocer. Yes, observatory, grocer. That's fine. Don't whip that for 3-pop. And Boston with its 3-pop whip on the bank, again, don't want to do. Boston is better off relying on its innate production now. San Francisco, 3-pop whip on the bank. Same again, I'd rather not whip it if I can help it. And Houston, 3-pop whip on the observatory. Again, I'd rather not. Although, rather than working that, how about you work that? Or that. 4 turns growth, 9 turns observatory. Working the Plains workshop is indeed best. New York can build a harbour and hasn't. It will want to soon enough when I switch into free market and have, which I will do when I have corporations set up. I will definitely want that to happen. So yeah, that'll do for now. Check the foreign advisor. We're all good. Domestic advisor. And that should do then, I think. Did anything grow this turn? Does anything need checking? Sarmation? Oh yeah. Sarmation, because I just took the city, Has 2 actual citizens in it. Takes 4 turns to pacify, therefore. Note that the barbarians didn't put any culture there, and so is instantly 50% American, 50% barbarian. Now, event log. What grew this turn? It is 1625 AD. 6 cities grew. Atlanta is working the correct tiles. There's no shortcut for that as far as I'm aware, unfortunately. Seattle can't really work the wrong tiles. It is automatically going to work these coastal tiles and then the ocean tiles on the outer ring. And it should... So unless it is below 3 population, which it never should be, it'll always be working the correct tiles. So, yeah, I don't think I need to worry about Seattle. San Francisco, again, is working the correct tiles. Houston is working coast when it should be working the hill. Miami, by virtue of being small, can't really work the wrong tiles. Yeah, just work that. You need growth more than anything else, and you need workers over here quite desperately. I'm overworked on this side of the map and underworked over here, which has been the case for a while now, so I should probably consider doing something about that. Once this thing has built its mine, so mine, hello, nope, and go over here to chop that. Then I should be able to infrastructurize this a bit more. Improve it, that's the word. What else grew? Miami and Baltimore, which I've already started sorting out the problem with. Oh, hello. When did this happen? A while ago. Couple turns. Right. Let's get that fish going, and let's work the fish, so Detroit can actually do something productive. After that, it can work towards whipping the Jewish temple, I think. In fact, scientific method is still a little while away. Let's get the monastery out shortly after, because I can whip the monastery after this. Jewish temple is a 2-pop whip at the moment, having 20 population remaining on it, 20 production remaining on it. So by that point I should have 4 population on the Jewish monastery, but once I've gotten far enough into that. This workboat wants to continue sleeping, and I'm going to have to end the episode here, I think. Chicago... Does Chicago want to whip now or next turn? It's going to have to be next turn. Which I already decided on. I'm mixing this turn up with next turn. They all blur together so well. Everyone has divine right. Except Augustus Caesar, because no one likes him. Okay, so I'm going to end the episode here. Thank you for watching. I have been and shall continue to be Pretzle. If you liked the episode, please like the episode and feel free to stick around for more. In the meantime, enjoy the music and don't forget to be awesome.